From San Antonio, Texas, this is the Manly Training Podcast, a podcast about how to do life God's way. Each week we deliver a meaningful message that will encourage you and give you a biblical blueprint to live life the way God designed it to be. Whether it's parenting, marriage, relationships, or how to overcome life's curveballs, the Manly Training Podcast will bring a biblical perspective to each week's theme. My name is Eduardo Quintana, and I am your host. And I must say this very humbly, I am not an expert. The information I bring to you each week is directly from God's Word and from personal experience. This week, we take a hard look at parenting as we continue to discuss the 7 worst things parents do, and certainly putting your marriage last is one of them. I realize that there are many single parents out there listening to this podcast, and I want you to know that you are not second class. If you want us to pray for God to send you a good spouse, don't be too proud to turn in a prayer request to that effect. Now, you may send your prayer requests to manlytraining@gmail.com. That's manlytraining@gmail.com. And put prayer request as the subject line on your email so that we can find them quickly and we can pray for you. Now, if you're married, you need to remember that as important as children are, they're going to grow up one day and leave you. And hopefully, you'll still want to stay with your spouse. You don't want to be an empty nest divorce statistic. Now, you need to nurture and grow in your romantic relationship with your spouse while the kids are still home. Don't think that you can put the vitality of your marriage on the back burner while you raise your kids. That's just not going to work. Here's the wisdom God gave Solomon on this issue. It's found in Proverbs chapter 5, verses 18 and 20, or through 20. It says, "Let your wife be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe." You know, I don't know why Solomon used wild animals to illustrate love, but I guess back then it was pretty romantic. Anyways, the word continues to say, "Let her breasts satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love." Verse 20, "Why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman?" Whoa, this is hot stuff. Is it me or is it get warm in here? I bet some of you didn't even know that the Bible uses this kind of language. Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show. The 5th chapter of Proverbs begins with the king warning his son to stay away from a promiscuous woman. Most of us know that women who are willing to have sex with anyone, well, they're searching for security, not sex. We need to be like Jesus towards these women and offer our understanding, but at the same time, point them towards the truth that real security can only be found in a relationship with God. One of the best ways to counterbalance the lure of infidelity and marriage breakup is to keep the fires of romance burning in your own marriage. But one of the biggest obstacles to husbands and wives enjoying the intimacy that God created them to enjoy is the presence of these little people in the home that we call children. Now, let's be honest. Kids, well, they take up a lot of time to feed and clothe and train, but the Bible wisely advises us not to let marital closeness wane during the years of raising children. So you've got to have a plan. You've got to make time to be alone with your spouse. You must date your mate. You gave one another complete attention before you were married. It's called dating, and you need to keep it up. How? Well, hire a babysitter. Trade babysitting responsibilities with another couple with kids, or get the grandparents or an older couple into church to watch your kids, and get away for a while on a regular basis. Try to be alone with your spouse. Do a date night. Now, don't feel guilty about leaving your kids with someone else. It's okay, I promise. Studies have shown that when a strong marital relationship is visible to the children, they actually feel more secure and thrive in their personal growth. The opposite is true when the children sense that they are the center of the home. When all of the attention and all of the affection is fostered on them, they actually become emotionally imbalanced. Child-centered families make neither healthy parents nor healthy children. So, spend time with your children, but spend time alone with your husband or your wife also. And make children sleep in their own beds, guys. Let them have set bedtimes. Parents are the executives of the family. They make and have the right to enforce the rules. So, don't make the mistake of putting your marriage last while you raise those kids of yours. If you do, raising them will become much more difficult to do. Don't miss next week's episode when we bring up the third item on my list of the 7 worst things parents do. And what is that? Well, it's when parents push too many activities onto their kids. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Manly Training Podcast. Make sure to visit our website at manlytraining.com, where you can subscribe so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. And if you like this podcast, you might want to check out our YouTube channel, The Manly Training Show. It's a fun and dynamic way to approach God's Word. At Manly Training, we do it God's way. Until next week.